Underwriting deals is such a major pain point for people. Most don't want to do it, and the people that are good at it are few and far between. That is why after 6 years of being in the industry and buying over 1,200 apartments, using my best-selling multifamily deal analyzer, I created Real Estate Lab, a full suite acquisition software for multifamily investors. We have built a product that helps investors automate their acquisitions and close more deals, all in a cloud-based platform. You can go to realestatelab.com and sign up today using the promo code TAG2 for 10% off your first 12 months. This is David Tupin. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the Apartment Guys, where we dive deep into all things multifamily investing. Our mission is to educate, inspire, and empower real estate investors to reach their highest potential. Each week, host Tate Seamer interviews high-level guests from all over the industry who are sure to bring valuable, actionable ideas that will propel your career to the next level. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned investor, you are in the right place. And now your host, the Apartment Guy, Tate Seamer.
Welcome, everybody, back to episode 100 of the Apartment Guys podcast, which is soon to be rebranded as the Apartment Gurus, because Chelsea Garber, who's here with me today, the lovely one and only Chelsea Garber, is co-hosting this podcast with me from this moment forward. Now, we're going from one episode a week to 2 episodes a week, and Chelsea's going to join me on that second episode every week. She may join me on the other one when we're interviewing guests, but mostly the Chelsea Tate episodes are going to be the two of us kind of talking, sharing about what we have going on, what we've learned, important things that we think we can add value to you in your business through. So Chelsea, how you doing? How you feeling?
I am wonderful. We are very well dressed today because we just had a team photo shoot. So I'm excited about that.
That's right.
Coming soon, new Greenlight team photos.
Yep.
And yeah, I'm totally honored to be here and 100th episode. Hats off to you. That is quite a journey. And I know a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and of your soul and heart have gone into the Apartment Guys. Like Tate loves the Apartment Guys.
Yeah.
And it is, I know by far it brings him so much joy. So to be able to share that with everybody and to be here is really awesome. And I'm excited to get to speak with the listeners and kind of tell them a little bit more about, who we are and what we're doing and, learn from us. We've made mistakes. We've done some things great. Like it's all part of the process. And we're going to share, I think, the ups and the downs.
Yeah. And I think what's like most important to Chelsea and me as far as the podcast goes is that it's a vehicle or like a tool to help you come along with us for the ride, basically. Like as we go progress through our business and the trajectory that we're on, like we really want to share the things that we've learned, and we want to help as much as we can, as many people as we can to be successful. And, the reason behind that is for me is it just makes me feel good. Honestly, I just love seeing people grow and progress personally and professionally. And so, and you're right, Chelsea, I do love the podcast. When I started it, I had no idea that I was going to love it as much as I do. And it's really been like an artistic, creative outlet for me that I didn't know I needed or wanted. And, I enjoy every episode. I enjoy recording them and listening to them. And so I'm glad that our listeners who are listening right now are our listeners, and I'm very grateful to hear from you guys. You can always reach out to us on our website, which is investwithgreenlight.com. We'll get an Apartment Gurus website going as well, and probably a Facebook group. So really, like Chelsea was saying, what we thought we would do today is kind of start out by sharing with you guys, like big picture, what we have going on right now. And, as far as deals, as far as asset management of our current owned properties. And like as far as our business and like the activities that we're doing, and what one thing to mention, Chelsea, is you mentioned it before we started that it was almost 2 years ago to the month, I guess, because I think Dealmaker Live was in July and in 2019. But Chelsea and I met at Dealmaker Live, which is Michael Blanc's conference that he has once a year. And that happens to be tomorrow. We're actually recording this on June 1st of 2022. And the Michael Blanc Dealmaker Live conference is tomorrow. So we're really excited about that. Big things happen at these conferences. Chelsea and I met. Now we're business partners and really love working together. And that's a huge, huge thing. And that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for that conference. So Chelsea, what is it about the conferences in general that are important to you?
Well, I was thinking about it a bit today, and I'm probably the most excited about this conference because, well, I was a mentorship student of Michael Blanc, and we are not here to sell his services or his mentorship program, but it kind of feels like family. So when we go back, we've created this camaraderie of people that are all in the same boat and some at different stages, and you become good friends with these people. And to be able to share, the success stories over the last couple of years, most of us were getting very, very green to the space 2-3 years ago, and to see what everybody has accomplished is so incredible. And what I really love about these conferences is that and the space in general we talk about all the time, is there's just an abundance of resources, and people are here to share ideas and give things away. It's not like I give you something and I owe you something. It's truly a growth mindset and space. So you go there feeling so fulfilled, and you kind of go there too thinking, what can I give? Not always what am I looking for. So it's great. And Tate and I and our partner Carl, when we go together, we usually set an intention what we're going to get done on that particular trip. And it just depends where we're at in our business. And, are we looking for partners? Are we looking for capital? Are we looking for, boots on the ground? And I think when you set that tone, like most things in life, and you kind of hone in, magic begins to happen. I'm just excited to be there and be back with Tate and see everybody and meet new people and and learn new things. That's always plus too.
The content at these conferences is usually really high level, top notch stuff. And Dealmaker Live is a multifamily specific concert conference. And, a couple others to mention that in my opinion, are great to go to. And in my book, do not misses. One is Jake and Gino's Money Mastery. This will be number 4 or 5, I think. So MM4 or MM5 in Orlando. That's usually, I think, at the end of November, sometime in November. And then Joe Fairless's Best Ever Conference, which this year was in Denver. And that happened in January, I believe, this year. I want to say maybe early February. But so those 2 conferences are a ways out. And I would recommend looking into them. You can always get early bird discounts, but if you really want to shake up your business and almost put it on steroids or whatever, the amount of time that you need to invest in a conference like Michael Blanc's is 2 days. Like you fly in, you fly out, 2 days of meeting people, networking, and like Chelsea used the word magic, like that's real. Like magic stuff does happen at these conferences, because where else are they going to happen? Like this is where people meet and do business and get to know each other and create possibilities together. So anyway, we're really excited about that. And we're also celebrating because we just put our biggest deal yet under contract, under PSA, which stands for purchase sale agreement. We're thrilled. It's a really exciting project in Columbus. Do you want to talk a little bit about it, Chelsea?
Yeah. So, the kind of the evolution of Greenlight, and, I'll let Tate kind of go into detail about that, but we've transitioned into a little bit of a new territory, which is A-class communities. We'll be closing in a couple of weeks here on our first 43 unit, 43 at New Albany, and the very hot submarket of New Albany, Columbus, Ohio. So everybody's heard about that with the Intel chip factory. And we always knew we wanted to kind of transition into this space, and it sort of just happened. And so we're evolving and growing. And our latest acquisition is going to be this is going to be a downtown A+ community and an A+ submarket, in the just absolutely the most prime location of Columbus. And it is it is by far will be the largest acquisition as far as price point. Although it's only 108 units, we're looking at, a high 200,000 per door purchase price. And with that, there's still significant upside. So I think when people come into this business, we are all under I don't know if it's an assumption, but everybody sort of starts out in the C class because, you think we can go there, we can create value, which is very true. And I think some of the A, B class might get overlooked, and you think, oh, maybe I need to do some C class before I move into A or B class. And it's really not the case. I think actually what the path that we're headed down is that there's going to be, we're going to have its own set of problems, but it's going to be much different problems. C class, when you're repositioning a property and there's construction involved and you're repositioning your tenant base, it is tough. Like, it will be the first to tell you, it is not easy. So I think we're just, really excited to get into A class, and we've got some really great partners. So I think this is all about partnership in this space. When we're going into a $10+ million equity raise, we've been, behind the scenes working for the last couple of years, building relationships with other equity sources, institutional, pref equity, family offices. We've just been thinking a bit differently. So it's really our time to put things to the test. And I'll hand the mic back to Tate, because he's been working really hard behind the scenes on some things here.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you mentioned C class versus A class. And look, C class seems like the way to go when you're starting out, because prices are less per unit, and there's typically a lot of value add in C class to be had, because it's hard to keep up with market rents when they're growing as fast as they are in Columbus. And so with a C class property, the proposition, your business plan, is typically to improve all the units, often completely remodel all the units as they turn over, bring in new tenants at the higher rent levels, and restabilize the property. And I'm here to tell you, like, there are a lot of moving parts in that business plan. There's the cost of labor to get the job done. There's the availability of labor. There's the cost of building costs. There's timing. And then there's the tenant base risk of not being able to turn some of the tougher people out of there. You basically inherit a tenant base that isn't yours. That's generally not who you want in the property when you're done with it. And so that business plan, just to be realistic, is somewhat risky, because there's so many moving parts, and when there's moving parts, things can go wrong. So a class A rent growth plan is a lot less risky, because you're taking out the construction risk, and construction risk is a big, big thing. And we've been stung by it in the past. And so, a class A asset that's been managed in such a way that rents aren't up to where they should be, that's kind of what you're looking for in a high growth market. And you want to do it in a market that's both cash flowing and appreciating. And there's not too many markets like that. Most markets are either pure appreciation markets where cap rates are super compressed and you can't cash flow, or they're cash flow markets that aren't going to grow very much. So we feel like we found a great market where we are. And Chelsea mentioned it's in A+ location. It's the urban core neighborhood of Short North in Columbus. So, yeah, biggest deal yet. It's got country club level amenities, from a huge swimming pool to a really nice gym, 24/7 gym. We're going to make it even nicer. We are doing a light update on the units, but nothing crazy with a whole lot of construction risk.
Yeah.
So,
And kind of one thing too, I'll add, it, I think is very common when you're getting into the business. It's you're thinking numbers. How many doors can I acquire? How quickly can I acquire this many doors? And we were victim of that. And I think
yeah,
really in the last probably 6 months or so, we've kind of pumped the brakes and said, hey, it's not about how many doors. It's, let's look at this differently. What are the quality of the doors? What are the quality of the returns? What are the risk factors? What is asset under management versus unit count? So I would say, it's okay to be competitive, particularly with yourself. But I don't think the X amount of doors is the thing to be reaching for necessarily. I would think really deep and hard about that if that's the track you're on.
yeah, and I would suggest as an alternative
Yeah.
that your assets under management metric is really what's up, because we're buying Class C properties sometimes in Oklahoma City for $50,000-$60,000 a door. In Columbus, we're buying Class A for $270,000 a door. So your door count in that case doesn't really matter as much as the overall value of the asset, because that asset's going to appreciate from that point ideally. And when a $30 million asset grows 10%, that creates a lot more equity than when a $10 million asset grows 10%, right? It's literally, I think, like 3 times the amount. So, that said, like I've definitely reevaluated. I was always about, let's get to 1,000 doors, 1,000 doors. And when we got into looking at these Class A opportunities, we're paying what we're having to pay for 108 doors. We could have probably gotten, a 250, 350 unit community in a Class C asset. But the management of that property and the management of the transition, the business plan, is a whole different thing than what we're looking at
Yeah.
at our project. So
I can't emphasize enough to go in conservatively with your business plan, because things are going to go wrong.
yeah,
Yeah, you're dependent on so many different people to execute, and it can be challenging, as Tate mentioned. It's getting, you might, have a contractor go out there and give you a bid and tell you they can do all these things, but what happens if their crew is no longer working out? You need to go hire somebody else. It happens all the time and across the industry with everybody that we speak to. So give yourself the first 6 to 12 months when you're repositioning a property to, just be conservative. Know that it's going to take time. And of course, the more units, the more amount of time. But once you get the flow going, it's great. And it's awesome to see things. But those first 6 months to a year they're tough. They're a lot of work and a lot of asset management, which, is another topic we could probably jump into.
Yeah. And we'll save that for another episode. But, we were talking about underwriting last episode, the two of us were, and related to this, you want to over underwrite your CapEx estimate, right? So what you think you're going to spend on construction for improvements, you want to estimate on the high side and maybe raise some extra reserves, because first of all, those numbers don't really sway the deal a whole lot. Like raising an extra $100,000 for CapEx on a $10 million property, it's not going to change your metrics very much. And that extra money is going to be so key when you go over budget on something. And the alternative is you don't raise it, and then you have to figure it out at the time. Either do a capital call, which investors don't like very much, or figure out different financing if you can do that. Like, it's kind of a big problem to have.
Yeah.
And if it sounds like we have experience with it, it's because we do.
Yeah. When there's money in the bank, there's far less problems. It doesn't solve everything, but it solves quite a few things in the business.
Yeah.
But with that being said, going conservative on obviously not just rent growth, but turnover, concessions, it just takes time to implement a plan. So patience and persistence.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so that's one project that we have going on. Like I said, we literally put it under PSA last week, end of last week, I think Friday. So a few days ago, and we're getting started on due diligence. We're working with our lender on getting the right loan program. We're working on finding a really great source of equity for a check this size that we need. And we're doing all the things that you do right after you go under contract. And there's a lot to do. It's busy. You're getting insurance quotes. You're working with the next property manager. You're identifying the next property manager. So, and you're doing inspections, physical inspections. You're writing an earnest money check. So that's the world we're living in right now. We're also living in a world we're about to close a deal that Chelsea mentioned, the 43 at New Albany in the New Albany submarket where Intel is. That's as Chelsea said, a 43 unit Class A. So we're finishing up, basically putting together capital for the equity raise on that deal. And yeah, so that's a $9.3 million acquisition, and we're looking at a $3.6 million equity raise. So that's kind of what you're looking at, right? Like you're raising the down payment, the closing costs, the acquisition fees, and a few other due diligence expenses, that sort of thing. And that's kind of the reality is, you're going to be raising over 30% of the purchase price as your equity raise. So one of the things that we're working on as a company, our company is really, I think, quite good at finding deals, working with great brokers to bring us deals or to compete for other deals. And we're good at negotiating. We're good at like due diligence. And one of the things that we didn't start really developing until maybe a year and a half ago, nearly to the point of our deal finding machine, is our capital raising machine. So, we love to be transparent on this show. We're not too proud to expose our weaknesses and the things that we're working on to improve. And our capital raising game is developing rapidly. We're constantly talking to new investors. And one of the things that we're working on is with these bigger deals, family offices and other institutional type money sources are very interested in writing a $10 million equity check, as opposed to our smaller deals, like the $3.6 million equity check. That's hard to get the big money interested in. So ironically, and you hear this said, like it's easier to do big deals than small deals. In some ways it is. I think particularly in this way, in the equity piece, because you just have more people interested. So that's one of the things that we're working on, is we're working on those relationships. And, we have live deals that we need to fill the needs of. So that's one thing we're working on. Chelsea, you want to talk a little bit about our asset management game right now?
Yeah, so asset management is done in-house. We all take sort of a team approach when it comes to asset management. We're very much involved with the management of each property. And, asset management is essentially put together a business plan and executing it, and overseeing the execution is asset management. So you're overseeing property managers, construction teams, sometimes they're tied together, every kind of moving part of the business plan, essentially, and the community. So we have weekly calls with each of our property managers and our on-site teams, and we spend about a half hour to an hour talking about what's going on site, what do we need to work on. We, of course, are these are our eyes and ears, so we need to know from them directly if something's not working, if there's a CapEx project we need to address. So I can't, emphasize enough that, this is something that you need to be doing as part of your team. And, we've talked at Greenlight about, when we get to a certain, amount of doors or assets under management, are we maybe going to hire probably somebody on our team full time to do asset management? And that's just natural progression and growth, I think, is, most companies go. So, but for now, it's very much in our wheelhouse. And, we all have our likes and dislikes. I happen to really like asset management. I like to manage teams and people and figure out solutions. And there's some really good days and there's some really bad days, but in the end, you have a team, most importantly. And if you have people that believe in you and your property and put the property first, then it's ultimately probably going to be a very successful venture. So it's definitely, a learning curve, I would say, for most people. We've all, I've been in management roles and have owned and managed businesses, and, seeing it at this level and dealing, we're talking about people's lives, like our tenants here. So we're responsible, although we're not directly, they're responsible for them. We are responsible for, 550 plus families or individuals. And we take that very seriously.
Yeah, as we should. And it's real with us, like our residents and our tenants and our investors are the two groups that we serve through our company, along with asset management. Like, just to, the good, the bad, the ugly. We had to part ways with one of our property managers this year. And let me back up for a second. I'll come back to that. Your property manager, guys, is the key piece of your implementing your business plan. If you get that piece right with the right property manager, things are going to go really well, likely. If you get it wrong, it is as painful as can be. And we got it wrong, quite frankly. And with one of our PMs that was managing 3 properties for us. And I won't get into the hows and whys, but we did have to part ways with our property manager. And quite frankly, our business plans on those 3 properties are at least 6 months behind where they should be, because of that mess and the transition and everything else. So it can be very painful if you get it wrong with the wrong property manager.
Yeah.
So.
And I wouldn't say we're 6 months behind. That might be stressing it a little much. I think at one property we might be, the others I think we're maybe a couple months. But with that, I will say that if your property management is consistently not delivering, jump ship. Do not stay on a sinking ship, because you feel, you'll have contracts, which, you should have your contracts reviewed with an attorney with your property management to make sure you're thoroughly reading your contracts. What are the fees that you're paying them? What happens if you part ways? Do you owe them something? There's all these things you probably overlook, and look at those details and understand who and what you're committed to. And if things don't work, be prepared to move on and have backups. Like, be in communication with multiple property managers within your market. Talk to other syndicators. It's, people will share, and we say this all the time, that finding a super property manager I don't want to necessarily say a needle in a haystack, but it's kind of close. And we've found one,
especially in Class C.
Yeah, in Class C, like, it's tough. And we're really fortunate because we had good people in their positions. They just weren't being properly managed by their executive level of their company. So we were able to, step in and essentially take over and solve a lot of the issues. But we brought a new property manager on board immediately, and it has just been like night and day with what we've seen the last 45 to 60 days has been accomplished, is incredible, and essentially probably got us back months of the time that we lost. So that's key. And that relationship didn't happen overnight. This is somebody I met 4 or 5 years ago in a market that I kept in touch with and just knew and liked and respected and came highly recommended. So you never know where these relationships are going to go in this business. Keep in touch with people, be a good resource, be a referral, constantly be in a giving mindset.
Yeah. Yeah, so well said. And again, like you want to really vet your PMs, guys, and you, like Chelsea said, you want to have the contracts reviewed. You want to make sure that you're not signing up for big termination fees. If you think we might be talking from experience on that, we probably are. And so yeah, your asset management game is the game that kind of comes last in the progression, because first you're finding deals, then you're finding investors and dollars and equity sources and whatnot to get the deals done. And then all of a sudden, like with us, we own 6 properties now, soon to be 7, and then soon to be at least 8 after that. And like Chelsea said, we have weekly meetings on all the properties. And asset management is definitely it's a very, very important role, because if you don't get, again, if you get the PM piece wrong, like Chelsea mentioned it, like going from getting that wrong to finding the right management group and getting it right now is like night and day. Like it's absolutely amazing, the difference.
Yeah, and it's so much less, when you have the right person in place doing any of these positions, it frees up a lot of your time because you're not having to manage them. You spend a lot of time in this business managing other people and quite frankly, managing your property manager, which is not why you're hiring them. So with that, I think we can say, we're not perfect at everything we do. We're evolving and growing, and we're going to be hiring a new employee at Greenlight to focus on some of the things that have kind of, I think, fell by the wayside as we've been so focused on growth is investor relations and continuing to build our relationships. And we have fantastic, loyal investors who, have worked with us on 2-3+ deals. And that definitely speaks volume. However, we've all agreed that it is something that we need to nurture more. And, we're, Tate, why don't you tell us a little bit about, what we're looking for in somebody when it comes to investor relations and what they can bring to Greenlight and our investors.
Yeah. So we're, like Chelsea said, we are in the process of recruiting for a new team member to work with the 3 of us. So as many of you know, Greenlight is Carl York, who's really our tactician and director of operations, and then Chelsea and myself. So we have evolved as a company with the 3 of us doing everything. And we do have a VA graphic designer that helps us out, but we're looking to add a team member who will be really like, they will have their hands in most parts of the business, but they're going to have a heavy focus on working with our current investors and recruiting future investors into good opportunities that we're going to be offering in the future. So this is going to be like an executive assistant type position. We're likely not going to call it that, but more of like an investor guru kind of guy, I guess, or gal. We think we have somebody, a really great candidate that we're really excited about, but we're not at the finalization point yet in the process. So that's another thing going on with us that's super exciting. So really, like, you can kind of tell the point of this episode, and the focus of this episode that we wanted to bring you was kind of a fun look into what we're doing right now at Greenlight, right? Because we talk a lot about like concepts and things we've learned, and we bring guests on and they talk about their business, but we don't talk necessarily a whole lot about what Greenlight does. And obviously we're 2/3 of Greenlight here, and we're doing a lot of big things right now, at least for us. They're big things. And we have a couple of things in the pipe that are every bit as exciting as what we're currently working on. And so really we were just wanting to give you a kind of a glimpse into what we have going on and what we've learned along the way with some of the things that we have going on. Let's talk a little bit, Chelsea, about how we can help our listeners. Why don't you talk a little bit about ROI by design?
Yeah, sure. So in addition to being a managing partner at Greenlight, I am the founder and CEO at ROI by Design. ROI by Design was founded in 2020, and we're a multifamily design firm. We work nationwide within all asset classes. You've probably seen us or maybe heard of us on Facebook or LinkedIn, and we work with other investors and syndicators to help them increase the returns on their asset, essentially their community, through creative design solutions. So it is a one-stop shop for everything design, and we put together really, unique packages and help with rebranding and exterior design, interior design, amenity spaces, and it's been such a fun experience the last couple of years as the business has just absolutely exploded. And we've probably done over 75 projects, ranging from 2 million to 30 plus million. We get to work, with people I really look up to in this industry that are doing really big things, and to get to see through their eyes how they're handling their properties and things, that are going well or things that aren't going well. And at the end of the day, we're creating, I think, an impact on a larger scale, helping, communities boost the community and help tenants feel really good about where they're living. So ROI by Design is my baby, and we're a team of 4 women, which I'm also really proud of. We've got 2 full-time designers. I've recently promoted one of the team members, Michaela, to COO and a design lead. So she's taking on an executive level, and just to see the growth and to better serve our clients. And we're here to help. So if anybody wants more information on that, you can look us up. It's just www.roi-bydesign.com. Or reach out to me on LinkedIn as well, and we'll set you up to talk about your property and how we can help you. And I just want to emphasize that, when I got into multifamily about 3 years ago, ROI by Design kind of was in the back of my head, because I kept saying, there's all these properties and everybody's just painting everything gray. It's a C-class asset. And Tate, you're not one to do that because you're very artistic and creative, but a lot of people don't know what to do. So they depend on their contractors or property managers. And we're not saying spend more money. We're saying, hey, we can curate a design package for you, which is going to be, I'll tell you right now, it could be anywhere from $4,000 to $15,000 at most to do an entire reposition, depending on the size of the property. So it's a drop in the bucket to have a professional help you come up with everything that your property needs. So I think we're providing a lot of value, and certainly I know for sure increasing the returns on people's investments and boosting, their tenant base and their rents. So it's fun. I love it. I think how Tate feels about his podcast is how I feel about ROI by Design. But it's actually funny because Tate, you were my first client, essentially client, almost 2 years ago. And you kind of thought, hey, that was a good idea. Like you understood it. And so thank you for trusting me. And it led us, I think, organically to our relationship and becoming partners. And if that hadn't have happened, we might not have been here today. So I think it's really cool how things come together in life. And if you believe in something, make it happen, follow your heart and your dreams, and you can do anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll kind of close this out with this episode out with 2 more items. So one thing I want to share with you is just a concept, or I guess kind of an announcement that, and this is something that I mention on show after show after show. So we talk about mentorship, we talk about coaching, find a mentor, find a coach, blah, blah, blah. Like we talk about that all the time. Chelsea and I both did that early on. We both have worked with a coach this year. I am still working with a coach. Finding a mentor is key, right? Getting free mentorship and coaching is even better. However, well, I won't get into that side of thing. Obviously, the more you pay for something, the more you value it. So I think there's that to be said. But I do offer at this point, I've got an open Calendly page that you can book sessions with me, usually 10, 15 minutes of just consulting and brainstorming and maybe getting some coaching, getting some ideas. looking at next steps, how to get to from where you are, point A to point B, where you want to be. And I love doing that stuff. And so I do it with, no strings attached, no expectations at all. And people take me up on it. And we have a really good time. I've got a few people I meet with every week now. And this whole thing about doing it for free is not going to last very long, guys. So that's the second thing, the big announcement I guess there is to make. And that's, I will be likely on September 1st of this year of 2022, be launching a one-on-one coaching program. And it's going to be a multifamily specific, apartment and investing specific program that is going to be an intensive on everything I know and all the resources I have. And the objective, if you haven't done your first deal, is to get your first deal done at least. Mm-hmm. The objective, if you have done deals, is to help you really level up to the next stage of your business, like, version 2.0 of your business versus version 1.0. So it's going to be super, super exciting. It's going to be powerful, impactful, and it's going to, as I always say, move the needle for you and what you're doing, and really like get you to where you want to be, like in life and in business. So stay tuned for more info on that, but put that on your, on your radar that I'll be offering one-on-one coaching as, going into Q3. So on that, hope you guys enjoyed this little inside glance into Greenlight. I apologize for my nasally voice today. I'm kicking the tail end of a flu, but I feel great. And it was really great to be with all of you today. Chelsea, it's awesome as always to get to do this with you. So thank you.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody for, having me and being here and listening to what we're doing, because we've been in your shoes if you're just getting started, and we're by no means experts, and we're not going to say we are, but we're here to share what we're learning and growing and how. And, Tate always says, feel free, please reach out to us. We're here to help you. Really, that's what the podcast is for today. It's, so it was nice to, for 99 episodes, I think Tate gave a lot and took very little. So to take the time today to talk about Greenlight and what you're doing, and you should just be so proud of what you've created here, and as the captain of our ship and the direction we're headed in. And, you're one of the most resourceful people. Tate figures out an answer for just about everything. Sometimes I even doubt him, and I like when he proves me wrong. So keep on doing it, Tate. And really great news about your coaching program. You're an avid, not only learner, but teacher. So I'm excited to see, because I know you're going to be an absolute, you're already a great mentor to so many people, and your time is valuable. Like, we're very busy individuals. So I think it's awesome. And anybody who gets to work with you is going to absolutely, put them on, if they're not already, the rocket ship to success.
Oh, thank you so much, Chelsea. Those were very kind words. I really appreciate it. So hope, listeners, that you've enjoyed this little mutual admiration society event. And we obviously enjoy working together. If you're, I say this almost every episode right now, if you're listening to the end of this episode and you've listened to the whole thing and taken some takeaways from it, like hire good property managers, for instance, you're doing good stuff, guys. And like, you keep doing it. The self-education digital mentorship piece is huge. And, being around thought leaders like Chelsea, like myself, and lots of these other authors, speakers, podcast hosts, that's a form of mentorship, right? It's not ultimately the only thing you want to have going on, but it's a big piece. So good job. Give yourself a big pat on the back today. And just know that you're doing good stuff that is going to really pay off in the end. So thank you, listeners, for listening to another episode of the Apartment Gurus. I'm thinking about saying where you are the guru or something like that. So thank you again for listening to one more episode 100. Really excited for the next 100. They're going to go a lot faster now because we're doing 2 a week. So this is going to be really fun. And we're really grateful to everybody that has supported the show and listened to the show for the first 100 episodes. Again, it's kind of like an honor to get to do this. So, yeah. So thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening to The Apartment Guys with Tate Seamer. Tate and friends are grateful to have you as a loyal listener. If you like what you've heard, please subscribe, rate, review, and share with friends on your Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or any other podcast platform. Also, check out Tate's YouTube channel for videos of many of these episodes and more. Until next time, take massive action steps and rock on.